Hello everyone. I am GSP. Welcome to my channel GSP Creations. Today, we're going to talk about the simplest way for you to start editing in Adobe Premiere Pro. Before that, click the subscribe button and bell icon for every updates from our channel. First step. We're going to open up Adobe Premiere Pro. Now that Premiere Pro has loaded to the splash screen, I'm just going to click on the New Project button and I am going to title this as Editing Basics. You can save this project in any folder of your PC, but make sure that all projects are saved correctly on that folder. The first thing you want to do is just import your footage into Premiere Pro. We're going to go up to File Import and then find the location of our media. In this case, I have it on the desktop basics footage. I'm going to select all of that footage to import. I'll select the first one, hold down Shift and click on the last one that will select all the footage. I hit Import now, it's going to import all that footage. All your footage is imported into Premiere Pro. So the easiest way to start editing your footage is just by clicking and dragging them over onto the timeline over here. The timeline is where you're going to build or edit your final video. So what it's actually done behind the scenes is created a new timeline. You'll see a duplicate here, what looks like a duplicate of the footage, but it actually has a little sequence icon here. And now we can just start adding more clips, so say we want this one to be next. And then finally this clip once we have all of our footage that we want on the timeline, or at least our first few shots. Today I'm going to show you that how to use simply two tools to start editing. The first one is the selection tool, the shortcut is V. And this is the most basic kind of tool in Premiere Pro. So if you want to move a clip from left to right, and actually if you want to shorten a clip, you can use the selection tool. The way that you do that is in Premiere Pro a lot of the tools are context sensitive, meaning they will change depending on what you are hovering over. So if I hover over the beginning of this clip, you'll see that it turns into a little bracket with an arrow next to it pointing right. That means I'm able to start trimming the beginning of this clip. So I can click and drag to the right, and now I am trimming the beginning of this clip. Maybe I want to trim it to the beginning of the shot where there's a little bit of movement. And you see I even get a little bit of a preview of where the shot is going to start. I can move my playhead over, and sure enough that's where the shot starts. I can play, and maybe I want the shot to stop right there. I can actually hover over using the selection tool to the end of the clip and do the same thing. The other way to make cuts in the timeline is to use the razor tool shortcut C. So if I have a shot that I want to cut the beginning and end it in the middle here. Say I have a pan down shot to the location of the building, I can make a cut where I want the footage to begin and end. So if I want it to begin at the sky here, I will make a cut simply by single clicking on the footage end. That's made the cut, and I'll press play to the end, and that seems good. And I'm going to make another cut now. I'm going to switch over to my selection tool using the V shortcut. Select all the footage that I don't want, and hit delete. I can even select space between clips and hit delete. That will make sure that there's no black frames between clips. Let's quickly even edit this clip using just the selection tool as well. And we are going to set our in and out points here and move this over. So now that's the simplest way to start editing. We have imported our footage onto the hard drive from our camera. We've opened up Premiere Pro. Save the project. We have imported our footage into the project, put our clips into the timeline. Just using the selection and razor tool, we've started to make our first edit. And this method is really great for quick and basic projects. But if you're doing something larger, you might want to consider this other method of editing: opening footage in the source monitor and selecting from there. So the way that we start editing that way is we will double click on a piece of footage, and that will open that footage into the source monitor. Now I'm going to do a longer video that goes over the basics of the interface. But to quickly go over it, we have our source monitor that's tied to our footage down here. And we have our program monitor that's tied to our playhead. Over here on our timeline, think of the playhead as a little eyeball that's looking straight down. And whatever it sees is going to show up in the program monitor. So if I hover over this clip, this piece of footage, that frame is going to show up in the program monitor. Opening footage up in the source monitor allows us to select exactly the point that we want, and import only that part of the footage into our timeline. So let's play through this shot and find what we want. That looks like a pretty good establishing the location here. So I'm going to make an inch by clicking the mark in button shortcut as I hit play and stop where I want it to stop and set an out point now. I can simply click and drag the thumbnail here down onto the timeline, and that will bring in just that part of the footage. This is a lot cleaner way of editing rather than just dragging everything onto the timeline. But it does take a little bit more time. Some things to keep in mind is that when you create your first sequence, when you drag over your clip to the empty sequence over here, it actually creates a sequence with the same settings as your original footage. So if you use two different types of cameras that may be our different settings, you will want to be aware of that. And it's not the exact size of your sequence, it's going to be a little bit smaller. So let's import one right now. I'm going to go to desktop, and then this is the video I'm going to import that. And then click and drag it onto my timeline, and what you can see is that is a very low resolution video. I want that to fill the screen, so I will right click on the clip and then select set to frame size. If you have an image or a piece of footage that is a different size as your sequence, you can always right click and use the set to frame size shortcut as a way to match everything up together. After done the video, we're going to go up to File and click Export the Media. The export screen is opened now. After that, click the output name and select where you want to export the video. And also name the video and click OK. After that, click Export. That's all, guys. So this has been a very basic introduction into Premiere Pro CC. I'm going to do a much longer, more in-depth tutorial in the future, so watch out for that. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel GSP Creations. Thanks for watching, see you all in next video, signing off GSP.